Good evening. This is the Ogden City Council meeting for December 18th, 2012. Let the roll call reflect that Chair Garner and Councilmember Heyer have been excused. Now we'll have Councilman Wicks lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we'd ask that you join us in a moment of silence for Emily Parker and her family and those others that were tragically injured. Thank you. First on the agenda is a recognition, and we have Galen Rasmussen from the Governor's Finance Officers Association. Mr. Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Galen Rasmussen, and I'm a board member for the Utah Government Finance Officers Association here in Utah. And tonight I'm representing the National Government Finance Officers in presenting this award that you've received for a number of years. And it's something that doesn't come easy, and it's something that your finance staff has involved many hours in producing and that you can be proud of that you have achieved for now 8 years in a row. It is the Certificate of Excellence, Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting, and it's presented to the mayor and to the chief administrative officer, so Mayor Mike Caldwell and Mark Johnson, as well as your entire comptroller staff. And also is kind of an achievement for all of your staff, since there's a lot of preparation that goes into putting all the numbers that are not just financial, but also achievement of everything that's going on in your city. So virtually everybody in your staff has a role in producing this document. And so on behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association, I'd like to present this award to your mayor and administrative officer and your entire comptroller staff. And so I'd just like to present that to you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer it. Otherwise, that's my presentation. So,
well, thank you. Okay, next item is common consent. The council ramp project rankings. Proposed Resolution 2012-29.
Vice Chair Blair, I would make a motion to adopt the Resolution 2012-29.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Wicks and a second from Councilmember Van Hooser to adopt Resolution 2012-29. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
aye.
Councilmember Van Hooser? Aye. Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Next is a request to be on the agenda. And this is a presentation of the comprehensive annual financial report and the audit report for fiscal year 2012. Mrs. Johnson.
Council, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. This is a big night. We appreciate Mr. Rasmussen driving over and presenting that award. And, you know, that is a big deal, and we appreciate that and appreciate his efforts. But this evening also, we are furnishing you with the fiscal year 2011-12 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report of the City of Ogden. This report is being provided in accordance with requirements of Utah Code. Please note this report has been formatted to comply with the financial reporting standards developed by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board and includes government-wide financial statements. Responsibility for both the accuracy of the data and the completeness and fairness of the presentation, including all disclosures, rests with the city management. To the best of our knowledge, the data is accurate in all material respects and is reported in a manner to fairly present the financial position and results of operations of the city's various activities. In addition, the city is required to undergo an additional annual single audit, which includes the schedule of federal awards, findings and recommendations, and auditors' reports on the internal control structure and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Just a couple of notes of interest include the general fund revenues increased by 3% over the previous year. Taxes produced almost 67% of general fund revenues, and general fund expenditures decreased by 5.3% from the previous year. As I was thinking about this whole presentation and things, probably as I thought about everything that's gone on in the past year, the best phrase to describe this past year would be definitely a year of transition. At the end of 2011, a new mayor, Michael Caldwell, was elected to lead the city. Mark Johnson was promoted to the position of CAO. The assistant manager of finance left for a new position in another municipality. And last but not least, the current finance manager retired after a very long career with the city. So here we are. I've taken the reins of the comptroller's staff as finance manager. Lisa Stout has been promoted to assistant finance manager, and other staff within the comptroller's office have all taken on new assignments as a result of this transition. Please know how appreciative I am of the staff. The words thank you are simply not enough. But I want to say it nonetheless. To start with, I'd like to say thank you to Lisa Stout. And if she would stand, I think she was here. She's the assistant finance manager, and she is the audit person. And I just can't tell you the hours that she's worked on this audit. And I don't think you could count the hours that she's put into this report. She has done a phenomenal job. I also want to say thank you to Camille Cook. She's also here tonight. She has helped with literally everything. You know, whenever I have an issue or a concern of anything, I can give it to Camille, and it's taken care of immediately, and it's taken care of perfectly. I want to say thank you to Cindy Hellowell. She's not here tonight, but she has a great institutional knowledge, and she is a great asset to our group. And thank you to Coralie Jensen. She was a newly hired staff member, and she's worked with some of the most difficult grants and done a great job with those. And also thank you to our very newest staff member, Marcy Grover, who's an intern from Weber State University, who takes any assignment with enthusiasm and professionalism. These women are simply amazing. I also need to acknowledge the support of Mayor Mike Caldwell, CAO Mark Johnson, and Management Services Director Sean Choate, as well as all the other directors and division managers within the city. This is a huge team effort. And as if it weren't enough transition on the city side of things, our auditors have been going through a major transition as well. In November of this year, the city's audit firm of Schmidt, Griffiths, Smith & Company became part of the regional firm Eide Bailly. So now let me introduce Kenneth Jepson, partner at Eide Bailly, to officially present the fiscal year 2012 audit report. At the end of their presentation, it is our request this evening that the council formally accept the fiscal year 2012 CAFR and audit report for review, and hard copies will be available first thing in the morning as well as on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening and report on the audit. We very much appreciate the opportunity to work with the city and with management and the council as well. Just briefly tonight, we're going to report on the audit. As you know, we're always welcome or happy to answer any questions, and at the work session we can dive into further detail. We have met with your audit committee both at the planning stage of the audit and at the end, and have an excellent audit committee who understand the issues and was a very good tool for us, and we appreciated working with them as well as with management. They made the audit very easy, and we were able to accomplish what we needed to and conduct a thorough audit, but do so in an effective manner. So what you'll see as you receive these reports is that we issue 4 opinions. We can never say anything concisely. But the first one you'll see that goes with the CAFR is saying that the financial statements and the balances therein are materially stated correctly and can be relied upon. So it was a clean opinion, as you'll see, and the city's not, that's how your opinions always are, so you've done an excellent job. The other three opinions that you'll see are, first of all, a report on internal control. Government standards require us to look at internal control, and it's a big focus, as you might imagine. So we've looked at that and addressed those, and you've got the report there you can look at. We've also got the single audit report, as was spoken to, and the report is in there as well. And then the final report you'll see is the state compliance report. The state gives us various things that we're required to look at, and we've done so and reported on that. So you can examine those for your light reading in the evening, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. But again, we were very pleased to work with the city and the council and appreciate the opportunity to do so. Are there any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jemison, and thank you, Ms. Johnson.
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to accept that report for review.
I second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Stevens to accept the comprehensive annual financial report and audit report for review. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Next, we have public hearings. First is the arts grant for fiscal year 2012 and 13. Mrs. Carolyn Brierly.
Good evening, Mayor Caldwell, Mark, members of the council. My name is Carolyn Brierly. I'm the Community and Special Events Coordinator for the city. Ogden City Arts is one of the advisory committees that is established by city ordinance. According to the ordinance, the committee's purpose is to foster an environment where the arts can thrive and become an integral part of the infrastructure of the city. One of the committee's responsibilities is to administer the art grant and regranting program. Ogden City has outsourced the management of Ogden City Arts to Downtown Ogden Incorporated. Thus, I would like to introduce Jenny Stout, Arts Director for Downtown Ogden, Inc., so that she may present the committee's report.
Hello, Mayor, Mark, and Council. Thank you so much for having us here this evening. Pursuant to Ogden City Resolution 2003-14 in support of Utah Code 10-8-2, the Ogden City Arts Committee has reviewed 18 arts grants applications from Ogden City-based nonprofit arts and cultural organizations requesting funding from Ogden City for the fiscal year 2013. And I believe that you have each reviewed those packets. In the interest of proper stewardship, a regranting subcommittee built of members of the Arts Council without conflicts of interest was convened to consider and determine recommendations. Each member of the subcommittee was requested to base their recommendations for funding on specific criteria, which is outlined in the applications that each of the organizations fill out. Some of those criteria are the number of people in the community that are served by that organization or their projects, that they provide a diverse, entertainment to a diverse segment of the population and the community, and that they provide arts-related education. In the work session held last month, it was determined that one of the 18 applicants was not consistent with paying their bills to Ogden City. And so that left $800 that had been recommended for that organization that had to be reallocated. The subcommittee reconvened, and that $800, as you should see in your revised packet, was recommended to be reallocated to the Ogden Chamber Orchestra organization. The members of the Ogden City Arts Advisory Committee are gratified to live in a community where it is that City Council and Ogden City Administration recognize that the arts are not a frill, and that they mean business, and that they support our community, that they're not a charity to be supported, that they are contributing, that they know that they're contributing to the arts is an investment in a vibrant, healthy economy. Additionally, the arts connect each of us to each other and add richness to our lives. Continued and, in fact, increased municipal support ensures that these vital arts organizations and programming is allowed to grow and nurture another generation of Ogden citizens. We recognize that nationally many arts organizations during this difficult time do not have the support that they need, and they are floundering and struggling. We've even heard of arts organizations that we believed were staples and would never leave the arts forefront that have actually dwindled and continued to thrive and have discontinued their programming. So we appreciate City Administration and Ogden City Council and your belief in the arts, and I would entertain any questions that you have on regranting. No questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a public hearing.
Is that okay?
Mr. Chair, you do have a public hearing, so it would be appropriate to open that.
So now we'd like to open up, if anyone has any public comment on the arts grant for fiscal year 2012-13, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Shelley Felt, and I'm a board member of the Ogden Symphony Ballet Association, and have the honor to come and thank the Arts Committee and the City Council for your continued support for the Ogden Symphony Ballet Association. Sharon McFarland gave me a little note that it's been 60 years since they've been in business, and that's just like when I started. And I remember going to those concerts at Ogden High School with my grandmother and grandfather, and I think that, as we know, that world-class orchestra has gotten better and better and more expensive, and our ticket sales, of course, don't cover our costs. So we ask for private, and we're so happy to have public donations, and we particularly use money that we receive from this grant for outreach programs, because music requires exposure and a little education to really start to have it in your heart so that you love it and it enriches your life. And so this year so far, 1,372 tickets have been given to local schools for the 8 concerts we've had so far. And we just thank you and hope that we can keep getting the symphony to come up here north. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kate Bruce, actually the chairman of the Arts Council, and thank you for all that you do for us. But I'm actually wearing the hat of Michael Palumbo. I'm here with a note that he sent that he wanted read for you. His daughter, he's up in Alaska, his daughter's getting married tomorrow. So he's one of our grantees for the Weber State University String Project, and he wanted you to know that, as you're probably aware, the Weber State University String Project targets children in grades 3 through 12 and provides high-quality stringed instrument teaching at a very nominal cost to over 120 children each semester. Teaching is provided by Weber State University students who are string music education majors and who are planning to enter teaching as a career. In order to be able to afford to continue to provide the classes and teaching at a low cost to the parents, the String Project is very dependent on grants and donation. The Ogden City Arts Grant has always been an important funding source for the String Project. We really appreciate the efforts of Ogden City in providing this money for us. Thank you from our teachers, from all the children who benefit from their teaching. Many thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Pat Posey, Director of the Eccles Arts Center. I would like to express on behalf of the Arts Center, we're very grateful for the funding that we receive from the city. We've been able to do many things at the Arts Center that we haven't been able to do in the past. As you know, that we solely rely on grants, and our administrative costs are never used for, grants are never available for that. So we have our art auction that provides for our funding for our administrative program. But we do appreciate everything that we can get from grants. It helps us to maintain the center, start new programs, which we have been able to do this year, and we've got new ones upcoming in the next year. So it's with gratitude that we really do appreciate everything that the city does for us, and we hope you'll stop by and see some of our great changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, me first. Hello, good evening. I'm Judy Vanderhyde, and greetings to the council and to the mayor, and thank you so much for having us here, and thank you so very much for funding the Ogden Opera Guild. We are an all-volunteer organization, and every year we send 120 students plus chaperones. We pay for their buses and their opera tickets, and we send them to a dress rehearsal of an opera in Salt Lake City. And this year, actually it'll be 2013, the opera is so exciting, and we are really thrilled to include students who are studying Spanish, because the opera Florencia in the Amazons is going to be performed in Spanish. And it was written by a man by the name of Daniel Catan, who is Mexican and who held a PhD from Princeton. Sadly, he died several years ago, right after his last opera, The Postman, some of you may have seen the movie or heard of it, was performed in LA. But the opportunity for Spanish-speaking people to hear an opera sung in their own language is really exciting, and there are a lot of activities planned around this. The Mexican consulate in Salt Lake has become involved, so we are delighted to be able to also participate, and with your help, definitely with your help, because we couldn't do it otherwise, we will be sending these students to the dress rehearsal of an opera. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Roberta Beverly, and I'm here for two thank yous. I just learned from Jenny that the Chamber Orchestra Ogden has been the beneficiary of some kind of a mistake that benefits them to the tune of $800. And I'd like to just point out that the Chamber Orchestra Ogden's home is at the Union Station, just down the street, and they have a regular season. And in November they performed Peter and the Wolf, and it was just well received. And so thank you for that. I'm so happy for them. And I didn't see Kendra, and I know that Mike Palumbo's up in Alaska at his daughter's wedding. However, secondly, I need to thank you for the for the Ogden Utah Arts Festival. No. The Ogden Arts Festival at Union Station. That was the second weekend in June each year, and we really appreciate your support with that. It's a great event, and we're getting to know how to do it now. This is our 10th year, and so we've almost got it down pat. But maybe another 10 years we'll have it. But thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I am dressed today as the Fairy Doll, which is Imagine Ballet Theater's recreation of the 1896 production from Russia. On behalf of IBT, I would like to say thank you to Ogden City Arts for their support. IBT has given 23 performances in Peary's Egyptian Theater, Union Station's Browning Theater, Ogden High's Auditorium, Imagine Ballet's Studio Theater, and at the Farmers Market. We have also performed for some 6,000 school children throughout this last year that might not otherwise have the opportunity to go to a live theater production. Without your help, we cannot continue to bring unique work to Ogden, give dancers opportunities to perfect new roles, nor continue to provide innovative and engaging repertoire for the community. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Renee Woods from the Ogden School Foundation. And first off, I'd like to thank you for wearing pink ribbons tonight, which I hope are in support of the Parker family. In my neighborhood, you know, we live 4 doors from the Parkers, and it's so pink up there. Even if it snows, it'll still be pink. They deserve all our love and prayers. We appreciate so much, the Ogden School Foundation, your help with the grant for the Ogden School District Festival of the Arts. This is one program with the things that Jenny talked about, that it needs to meet a diverse population, it needs to meet the needs of a lot of members of the community, and to really introduce and help support the arts. This one does, because the Arts Festival happens in every school in our district, and we have almost 900 students who participate in one way or another, whether they sing, whether they dance, whether they sculpt, do photography, do painting, play the piano, in whatever effort they choose to participate in the arts. This is their opportunity. And with our population in Ogden City and the low income and diverse ethnic population, for some of our students, this is the first time they've had a chance to participate in the arts. And to have the art festival where many of them can bring their parents to see that they received a check. They actually won a prize for the artwork that they did. It brings a lot of self-esteem to these little people who are just learning about the arts. I happened to be sitting one day by a kindergartner as they watched a production of The Jungle Book. And she just didn't get it. She couldn't understand why these people were in costumes, but they looked like animals and what was going on. And finally, she ran over to her teacher, and in this really joyful voice, she says, "I get it. I get it." She says, "It's just like TV, only with real people." She was so excited, and she happened to be Hispanic. And I thought, wow, what we have done for this child to be able for her to see real people participating in the arts, and that had meaning to her. Who knows what kind of a life-changing event that might have been for that child. And maybe as she goes home and talks to her family about participating with real people, it might have an effect on her family too. So what you do for the Ogden School District's Festival of the Arts is really important to the kids in our district. It makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Goodwin. I'm the director of Treehouse Children's Museum here in Ogden, and I'm happy to be here tonight not only to say thank you for your support through this Art Council grant for Treehouse's programming, but also for what you do for the whole community. As Jenny said, the vibrancy of a community and the vitality of it is reflected, I think, by the variety of arts organizations and museums that are supported within that community. Treehouse turned 20 this year, and we received a national award back in May from the Children's Museum Association of the United States. It was a big award, and we went back to get it. And one of the things that they mentioned as they introduced us was what a wonderful thing it was that we came from a community that was so caring about civic and cultural organizations. And so it was sort of an award for Ogden too, and we think that's wonderful. We serve about, this year we're on track to be over 165,000 children and parents who will come to the museum in this year. That's a new record for us. We've been over 150,000 before, but 165,000 this year at least. And that includes about 23,000 school children who come to us and as part of their field trip get a visual arts experience and a theater art experience. So we are big supporters of the art, but we could not do it without this kind of grant support that we get. That's a lot of children, a lot of pieces of paper, a lot of glue sticks, a lot of costumes and props that we go through in a year. So we really, really appreciate the support, and we think it's wonderful that Ogden stands up and says we want to support the arts in our community and our museums. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Washington, and I am the founder and artistic director of Good Company Theater. City council members, Ogden City Arts staff, arts committee members, Mayor Caldwell, fellow art organizations, and community members, Good Company Theater thanks you. Good Company Theater develops and promotes high-quality, eclectic theater productions and events, forging new relationships between audiences, performers, and spaces in the process. Good Company Theater is so proud to be forging a relationship with Ogden City's businesses, citizens, and fellow artists. The city is growing leaps and bounds due to tireless efforts of many people, organizations, and businesses. By the city offering developmental grants, it allows me to pursue a dream. I am passionate about theater, but more importantly, about belonging to a community that embraces theater. And I'm luckily located in the heart of Ogden, 25th Street, 260 25th Street, if you're looking for it. I cannot wait to produce theater that adds to an already vibrant and thriving art scene. It has said, the leap, not the step, is what makes the experience possible. So again, thank you for allowing me and Good Company Theater to take a leap into the supportive and open arms of Ogden City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nikki Lovell, president of the Egyptian Theater Foundation, and we do the programming at the Perry's Egyptian Theater. Thanks to you, we can allow more people into one of our greatest treasures, the theater, so they can appreciate all its beauty and its history. And without you, we couldn't open up the doors to things like the children's movies, where just a week ago we had over 700 children in the theater. It was probably the most exciting thing I've ever seen, to see people walking down Washington Boulevard from every direction to go to the theater. It's a memory I had as a child, but haven't seen it as an adult. So we really want to thank you for anything you do for the Egyptian Theater. It promotes the downtown area. It brings people down to participate in the restaurants and the businesses. When that theater is open, that part of town is vibrant again. Without your help, that would not always happen, so we appreciate it. I want to share one more thing. 2 years ago, you gave me a grant for my ELF college. It was a $1,500 grant, and we had 20 elves. That grant is still going on today, and last Saturday we had over 60 elves participate. They are singing in nursing homes. They are going to the hospital. They do 3 breakfasts with Santa, and they participate in reading in Christmas Village. That was a well-spent $1,500 that is encouraging kids to volunteer even more so. So the work you do, even though sometimes it seems small, grows and gets bigger with time. Thank you for all you do for the arts, and especially for the Egyptian Theater.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amir Jackson, and I am the founder and director of the Nurture the Creative Mind Foundation. Our foundation partners creativity, education, and character development. In the past 6 years, we've been able to work with about 5,500 community youth. Our foundation, because of the support of the City Council and Ogden City Arts, has been able to reach more youth in the last couple of years than we were the 3 or 4 years previous to that. And it is because of your support that that has been able to happen, and we've been able to expand. So for that, I thank you. We have been able to produce such materials such as a youth-driven magazine, Utah's first youth-driven magazine. We've also produced our own radio show where the students, in partnership with Weber State University, once a week go on air and develop a show and host it themselves. So not only are we combining education and character development as well as creativity and arts, but marketable skills that these students may not get in other venues. We also look forward to expanding on our partnerships with community organizations by partnering up with the Union Station so that we can have a space in the next couple of years. All that we've done has been, in the last 6 years, has been without a space. So we look forward to that partnership, and we look forward to that possibility so that we can make more concrete and tangible the things that are happening behind closed doors and make that more visible. So thank you very much. I appreciate your support. We appreciate your support, and I look forward to it in the future. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Caldwell, Mark Johnson, and City Council members. Thank you for having us here tonight. I just want to say my name is Brian Smith, and I am on the Ogden City Arts Committee, and I'm also here as a board member of the Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music. I'm also supportive of many of the organizations here, and I would just like to thank you all personally for the support of arts in our community. We put a lot of work, a lot of volunteer hours into making interesting and beautiful and exciting things for our community members to experience. And I personally believe that's one of the things that makes Ogden such an incredible place to live and be, and it's attractive to people to come here. I want to specifically, on behalf of the Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music, thank you for your support. Founded in 2008, the Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music has put on a festival every year, the Ogden Music Festival. Last year we had over 2,000 people attend. Throughout the year we've put on 6 different events. We've partnered with Imagine Ballet Theater on one of the first performances at the newly restored Ogden High School. We combined the ballet and world-class musicians, the Kruger brothers. We've had multiple other world-class musicians come to Ogden at the expense of Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music. Next year, we plan even a bigger festival at the Fort Buenaventura. It's a 3-day festival. Campground is completely sold out. If you haven't been there, you're really missing out on something that's special that's happening in Ogden. It's an all-ages, all-weekend event. We've got musicians. I think there was 15 major acts and over 60 performers, workshops, educational experiences. Kids at under 16 at all of our events are free. Coming up this year, we plan a bigger Ogden Music Festival at Fort Buenaventura, and we also have a Ogden Roots and Blues Festival that we're going to be putting on up at North Fork Park at the end of the summer. We put a lot of work into these events, and we really need the support continuing from the city, from the community, and from the various sponsors that we have, and we wanted to thank you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
If there's no further discussion, I guess I'd like to say I think the real thanks goes to all of you for, you have another comment.
I have one more comment. I would actually like the council to recognize the Ogden City Arts Advisory Committee and have them all stand up so that everyone can see who these hardworking individuals are.
I think that'd be great.
Thank you.
So let me start over and say I think the real thanks goes to the committee that put so much thought and care into dispersing this money and to the organizations that do add so much richness to our lives. And with that, I would make a motion to, we do have to, and with that, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Wicks. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. That passes.
That, I would go ahead and make a motion to adopt this.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion on proposed resolution 2012-26 from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Van Hooser. And this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hooser?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Again, thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you.
And congratulations to Dr. Palumbo's daughter Allison and new son-in-law Scott.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, mid-year fee changes. I believe Mrs. Johnson again.
Mr. Chair, if we could wait just a moment while those who need to leave can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Council members, tonight there is a public hearing for Ordinance 2012-50, revising fees related to Ogden City recreation programs. And I'll just very briefly go over each one of those fees. Adult flag football is to increase from $325 to $425 per team. A pickleball league fee is being introduced of $25 per participant. A youth 7-on-7 football tournament fee of $150 is proposed. Youth competitive baseball league per a 10-game schedule is $625 per team. Youth competitive baseball league per a 20-game schedule is $1,200 per team. And a new instructional baseball league is being proposed with a fee of $225 per participant. A Utah State High School All-Star Underclassmen baseball game is being proposed with a fee of $50 per participant. A high school baseball tournament fees will now range from $625 to $725 per team, depending on the number of games offered. Youth baseball tournament 8 through 16 will now range from $200 to $450 per team, depending on the number of games offered. And those are the fees that are being proposed in the ordinance tonight.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so if anyone has any comments regarding the mid-year fee changes, do so now.
Seeing no movement, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Wicks to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Chair Blair, I move that we make these fee changes for proposed ordinance 2012-50.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Van Hooser on ordinance 2012-50 and a second from Councilmember Stevens. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Van Hooser?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes.
Mr. Chair, how does our fees compared with other cities around the state? Are we with?
Mr. Bridge will answer that question.
Everywhere where there was a fee that was comparable, we provided it, and we're right in line with every city in the state as far as what we're charging.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along to another fee change for establishing the fees related to the Ogden Hinckley Airport.
Proposed ordinance 2012-51 establishes fees related to Ogden Hinckley Airport as follows. Fees for security badges are proposed as follows. Biennial Air Operations Area Access, $20 for 2 years with a $10 renewal fee. A biennial Secure Identification Display Area Access, $50 for 2 years with a $10 renewal fee. Badge replacement fee of $100. Also, an overnight parking fee is proposed at $3.50 per day. And just as a matter of note, we did a little bit of research on the parking on these fees in some of the other communities, and let me get to that very quickly.
Fort Collins has a $15 fee for their badges, and their parking is $5 per night. Idaho Falls is $16 for their biennial fee, with parking of $7 per day. Provo charges $25 for their badges, and they're also at $3.50 per day on parking. Sun Valley, $40, the initial fee for their badges, with a $40 renewal, and $8 parking per day. Gunnison, Colorado, $30 fee, annual fee, with parking $5 per day. Boise, $65 for the badge and parking of $9 per day parking. Casper, Wyoming, $20, same as ours, annual fee, only it's an annual fee with parking of $5. So you can see there's quite a range of fees across smaller airports and that, but I just wanted to present those so you could have kind of an overview of how these fees rank with others around the area.
Just one question. On the replacement fee, is that a standardized across-the-board fee?
No, I don't believe that it is. And the reason it is so high is because if one of those badges isn't accounted for, they have to rebadge everyone. And it's quite a process. And so they wanted to make that where we have to account for those badges all the time. And it's very cumbersome to replace those. That's why that fee is so high.
So just to make sure I understand, so if I lose my badge, then everyone has to get a new one?
Everything else has to be changed and rebadged, and it's quite a process, according to the airport manager.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so I'll now open the floor to those who wish to speak on this. Go ahead and just come up.
I'm Dwight Burks. I represent the Ogden Regional Airport Association. Our question is, why were these fees imposed on us without your knowledge of it? And who took that authority to begin with, and why? We're not opposed to offsetting what it costs the city to do things. We just feel like that this was imposed without proper procedure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm J.R. Lundgreen, and I've got a hangar, a couple airplanes at the airport, and one of the things, did anybody question Salt Lake what their fees are? They don't charge. They don't charge at all for badges. And another thing, parking at the airport is getting to be a real mess. You're taking the airport restaurant out there. She's supposed to have so many parking spots per table, per bar stool, and whatever. All the parking north of the terminal is taken up by budget cars and airport cars. There is no parking north of the terminal for anybody visiting the restaurant. The gal that runs the restaurant, there's more handicap parking there. There's 7 handicap spaces there. There's about as much handicap parking there as there is for parking for the rest of her restaurant. Go out there and take and see what parking is left, unless you go out there to where the parking is for the airliner, the new parking spot out there. And all that is taken up in the front row or 2 rows by budget cars or whoever is on the airline. She has no opportunity to take and have any of that parking. She needs a break. You know, she's struggling. Her business is not up from the airlines. She has not gained 1 iota as far as business goes. She might get a little bit with the people that are going out, but the people that are coming in They don't buy a meal or anything else at the restaurant. So, you know, she needs some help. You need to go out and look and see what's going on, talk to her. Royal has no conversation with this lady at all. There is no conversation between her and the restaurant, between Royal and the restaurant. Thank you.
My name is Gary Kopecki, and I've got over 52 years in the aviation arena, from the U.S. Air Force to general aviation to commercial. And I've watched Ogden Airport go through a transformation here in the last, I guess, several months. We got a regional carrier in. We're flying 4 sorties a week out of there, and at the expense of general aviation. If you go out there and look at the movements of light aircraft, because of some of the restrictions that are imposed upon us now from TSA and some of the ridiculous regulations that are going on, again, with no commentary from the airport manager, and there's no exchange of ideas. It's one way, his way to us, and I think that's unacceptable. I also have to parrot what JR said. I am a frequent patron of the restaurant in the airport. And to be quite honest with you, that's probably one of the only places you can get a meal on the airport, unless you want to drive way around on the other side and go over to Kemp's operation. And if that fails because of accessibility to local patrons, because of paid parking and just the way the parking lot's arranged right now, I think that's a travesty. And as long as we're talking about I guess taxes, if you will, the line badges, I consider that a tax. Why did we waive the fuel tax and the landing fees on Allegiant Airline? I don't get it. I'm paying over $1.50 federal tax for aviation fuel, and those guys are off the hook. I feel like I'm supporting them, and I really don't like that. I would like an answer on that if somebody has one.
Okay, after this is over, we'll have someone address those things.
I'll try to address as best I can the 3 issues that I can remember that came out of it. As far as comparison with Salt Lake City.
Chair, so you probably want to close the public hearing before we answer the questions.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to close the public hearing from Councilmember Wicks and a second from Councilmember Van Hooser. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
You can't fault him for being anxious, though.
As far as the comparison with Salt Lake City, it's a different class of airport. They basically take from all of the revenue that they have for their gate fees, they're able to meet all their expenses. So we compared ourselves with smaller airports, which we think the fees are relatively well in line with those. As far as the parking issue, I think there's a relatively good point that's made there, and I know that we're working on redesign issues as we speak, trying to figure out how to get more parking out of the spaces. A lot of the spaces were way oversized and weren't really sized for normal parking. I really can't fully address, and I'll have to take under advisement, the waiving of fees as we look at those particular costs for Allegiant. Allegiant was given a waiver of certain fees, and I don't think that they were fully categorized correctly, but I'll have to take those under advisement and get back to the council on those. But part of that was the inducement to get a carrier in place. As far as the change in general aviation, one of the issues is I think we've all addressed for a long period of time the costs associated with running the airport and the fact that it is highly subsidized, and without having other additional means of revenue generated on site, it would be hard to maintain and run the airport and have a future for it. The other answer is that in the economic benefits that we've already seen to the general community that inure to us, that we think whatever the general aviation issues are, they need to be, that the sacrifices that we're making are well worth it over the long period of time. There will be airport changes that will help management manage it over time if we are successful and continue the general aviation. I think as we presented it, we thought that those particular growing pains would be well worth the pain that we're going through in order to get the project up and operating and to continue to recruit additional carriers into the airport. Any other questions?
How full are the flights that come into us?
They're running at 92% to date.
I wanted to ask about the parking issue as far as the handicapped. Is there a ratio between handicapped spaces and the number of people that come and go, or?
That question I can't answer specifically. I'll have to do some research on it because I don't know exactly what the ratios are, but I can get back to you on those. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they all were originally established. There is a requirement on handicap parking and those types of issues, but I'd have to look at them.
Mr. Montgomery questioned, and he's not here tonight.
So. And he's not here.
And my other question would be, how many people are parking overnight or going to be paying this fee? How many spaces are being occupied by overnight parking?
There haven't been that many to my knowledge right now. The hope is that there will be more. So there's just durational parking. Most of what we've seen to date have been drop-offs. Now that may change. So, things are fairly dynamic in the first few months of operation, and we'll see how they go long-term.
And if these gentlemen are concerned about the rent-a-car situation out there, are rent-a-car companies using the stalls that patrons should be using for the restaurant? That depends on how it's configured. I think right now that they make a good point. They take up the closest parking, and I know that our long term is to try to basically restructure the parking so that we have a little bit more parking close to the front door. So the issue is that point is probably well looked at and studied, but I know we're in the process of trying to restructure the parking on the parking lot. So we've been at it, not even 120 days. Oh. And so there's a lot of things that we did fairly quickly in order to meet Allegiant's schedule. So there's some new design issues that we're working through. And
may I also add, if there are suggestions that these four gentlemen have, if they could meet with you after.
Sure.
Tom is the director of the Community Economic Development. He is Royal's boss, and he'd be more than happy to meet with you for a few minutes after.
And just one more question, Tom. So the proposal before us tonight is to adopt fees. These are, we haven't had these fees, right? So
no.
This is actually, they would just be implemented.
Right, they'll just be implemented.
Starting the first of the year, I'm assuming.
Correct.
And we do have to have the security badges in order to have.
We do have to have the security badges, and as was explained, the loss of the security badges, the control of those security badges, it makes it very difficult. And as far as TSA's requirements, it does it makes us all, including the current people that use it, have to do different things. That's one of the sacrifices in having a TSA secured facility.
It seems like we need to address the parking more so than what they've been talking to us about. And I'm sure we can accomplish that.
I think that's an issue that we need to delve into in some greater degree. I know that we're looking at it and trying to figure it out. So we'll have to continue figuring out how we restructure it.
Well, I'm sure we can come up with a viable program.
You will let us know, what the outcome is. Is that correct, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair, in some cases, when the council doesn't get all the questions answered, you would table and consider and hold the public hearing open and then make your decision. So my question is whether or not you need that information in order to set the parking fees.
To set the overnight parking fees?
Hmm? It's a lot less than Salt Lake International, and it seems to me like it's kind of an average of other communities that have airports this size.
Yeah, I think the bigger question is resolving the redesign of the parking.
Yeah.
I think so too.
It doesn't really make sense to monopolize the prime parking spots with rental cars if that's what's happening.
If that's the case.
Rider trucks and
Thank you.
So when would we have that, Mr. Chair, that work on the parking lot?
Well, the redesign of the parking lot may not reflect on the need for the fees we need. We'd be more than happy to work on taking a look at the parking lot and move on that as quickly as we can.
Okay.
Go ahead and move forward. Mm-hmm.
If there's no further discussion, I guess I'm comfortable making a motion to adopt ordinance 2012-51.
Mr. Chair,
yeah,
the public hearing
is actually closed. Mm-hmm. I believe someone will meet with you after, and you can go ahead and talk to them and
Mr. Chair,
share them.
He cannot speak at this time.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Van Hoosier on proposed ordinance 2012-51. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier? Aye. Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Next on the agenda is reports from administration.
Mr. Chair, you have one more public hearing.
I'm sorry. Next is UTA ski bus service.
She's 3 for $1 tonight.
I'm sorry. You got to look at me one more time. The proposed ordinance 2012-52 amending the budget in the amount of $50,000 to fund the ski bus service and related marketing efforts. The purpose of this action is to transfer $50,000 of prior year hotel tax fund balance to the fiscal year 2013 budget for tourism and marketing. This action will increase the community promotion account by $50,000, which has a current fiscal year 2013 appropriation of $93,000, of which $20,000 is already earmarked for the tourist transportation program. $45,000 of the transfer will be added to this program, while the other $5,000 will be used for the marketing of the program, and this is outlined in Schedule A of the ordinance. As of June 30th, 2012, the hotel tax fund had a balance of $191,181. After taking into account proposed budgeted revenues of $105,000 and proposed budget expenditures of $93,000, the fund will have a balance of $153,181 after the transfer, and that's outlined in the hotel tax fund balance schedule that was provided in your packet. And I'll answer any questions relative to the budget portion of this after the public hearing.
This is also a public hearing, so anyone who has comments on the UTA ski bus service, the floor is now yours.
Mr. Chair, it would be appropriate for council members to ask any questions they have before the public hearings close.
Okay. Any questions from council members for Mrs. Johnson?
Seeing no questions and no movement, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to close the public hearing from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Van Hoosier. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair Blair, I would make a motion that we would adopt ordinance 2012-52 for the ski bus service budget amendment.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Wicks on proposed ordinance 2012-52 and a second from Councilmember Van Hoosier. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier? Aye. Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Next is reports from administration. Now I'll turn over to Mr. Johnson. Or not.
Mr. Ogden.
Mr. Ogden.
Mr. Chair, members of the council, the item before you tonight is, thank you, Amy. It's a development project in the Jefferson neighborhood at the southwest corner of 27th and Lincoln Avenue. This project is a good project in that it takes advantage of a number of opportunities. The Jefferson neighborhood is a neighborhood in need of revitalization. It's recently undergone a study, community development, community plan update study, and a number of recommendations have come forward from that. In addition, the site at 27th and Lincoln is a site that has sat vacant for several years, decades. We also have a nonprofit organization who has done development adjacent to this site and has purchased some of the site and has options on other land to put a parcel together that would equal a 2.5-acre parcel. And that would be a good development parcel. In addition, we have this nonprofit organization is our Community Development Housing Organization, or CHODO. And this organization is the only entity that is eligible for and able to use a set aside of funds that we have from our federal grant called the Home Grant. 15% of that grant is used for this CHODO organization every year. And we've pooled some of those funds for the past few years and now have a balance that is in a position to be able to be used for this project. So all these things coming together look like a good opportunity to take advantage of in doing a housing development project. I just wanted to introduce Marion Willie, who's the Executive Director of the Utah Nonprofit Housing Corporation. You want to take a minute to introduce yourself? Thanks.
Word said if it snowed, I didn't have to come up. It didn't snow, so I came up. Marion Willie, I'm the Executive Director for Utah Nonprofit Housing Corporation. We've been working with Ogden City for about 16, 17 years. We've been doing single-family homes. We did Lincoln Townhomes, and we've been combining this property for a number of years to do something in this area. We think with the CHODO funds and some other funding that we may be able to get, we could do really affordable single-family homes in this neighborhood, which we think would really improve the neighborhood. So we're really excited to take this on. Utah Nonprofit's been around since 1964. I've been the director for about 18 years. We have 2,200 units in the state of Utah, affordable housing, and we work with Ogden City on some single-family homes in Jefferson Street. Jefferson. So, which were built and sold very quick. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anything that we could do to help to move this along, we'd appreciate the council's support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marion and his organization are great, great asset to not only Ogden but the state of Utah. Just some of the particulars on the project. How do we do it? Just tap it. This is a picture of the site, 2.5 acres, bounded by the red line. Gives us a kind of a quick look. The townhomes that were done to the south or below that site were also developed by Utah Nonprofit Housing in the mid-90s. And in 1998, they did an acquisition of, let's see if we can get, the Pink property. So they own the Pink property. Ogden City had since, in an effort to try and participate and make a developable site, had purchased some vacant ground, and there was an old dilapidated home that was abandoned and under code enforcement. So we were able to purchase that and have put that in place. They now have an option on the Robertson property. As you can see, it adds quite a bit of space and also some frontage on Doxey Street so that some homes can be built there. Just kind of a side note, the Habitat for Humanity group has done 3 homes on Doxey Street, and they turned out very well, and they're now owner-occupied. They've also expressed an interest in partnering with Utah Nonprofit, and we don't have that in place yet, but that's just something that may come over time. The project's anticipated to start in the spring of this year with engineering and the groundwork taking place first, and then hopefully having some homes ready to sell this spring and early summer.
Can you address the Doxey Street condition on that? What is planned for that?
Thank you.
area.
The community plan recommends that Doxey Street be continued from Wall Avenue. It kind of dead ends now, about halfway through the block. And they recommend that that street be connected over to Lincoln Avenue. And so we have in the CIP process a brief submitted that hopefully will be adopted. This project can take place over a few years, and so if that can't be adopted this year, then it could take place. The project needs to, because of its federal funding, there are some timelines that need to be met. But it would need to be done, completed no later than December of 2016.
Would we be doing the improvements all along the total amount of Doxey or just portions of it?
Just a portion of it. The Doxey Street to the west is functional. It's not finished all the way, but it could, and that could be another phase on the Doxey Street too. But so what we're recommending is, I think we've got a slide of the phases that could take place. The first phase in green would be able to take place this year, at least start this year, and then phase 2 that requires the Doxey Street could take place either next year or another year in the future.
Phase 1 is all the green, right?
Is all green.
All the green. Okay.
And of course, there's an absorption issue. You can't sell them all at once, and so we'll try and start with something that's very visible and very nice. And the homes that are proposed are a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. They are designed to be affordable, but I think we have some pictures of some homes that we're thinking, particularly example 3 is one that has a very good interior layout and has kind of an arts and crafts style exterior and is consistent with the neighborhood architecture. And so we'd hope to be able to do some of each if we can. But again, this is Utah Nonprofit's project, and we will have some architectural input and a little bit of veto power, but that's our, we're going to be working with them on architectural designs. The pricing has been estimated at $118,000. Part of the proposal is that the city, again, because we have federal funds, we have to keep some money in with the home buyer. So we'll be proposing to do an assistance similar to what we do with OWN in Ogden. In this case, we'd like to recommend an $8,000 second mortgage, because that's an amount that can help a low-income person purchase the home and cover all of their down payment and closing costs. So they could get in the home with $500 out of pocket.
So these homes, since you mentioned the electric company, I know we took the tour of some of the other homes. These are going to be all electric, no gas?
Oh, no. No, they'll be, that's not I'm sorry if I gave that impression. No, they'll have gas forced air furnaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So low-income families would be eligible to purchase this. When you talk about low income, what's the range on that?
Off the top of my head, I'm thinking a family of 4 is around $50,000. So it's not a super low income, requirement, but there is an income cap. But they're designed to be affordable to individuals who are interested in living in this neighborhood and want a very nice looking new home. A good value for the price.
Energy efficient, I'm hoping.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, they're all Energy Star, appliances and things. So what we're recommending is that the council adopt a resolution that authorizes us to use the CHODO funds, which are in the amount right now of $138,000, and then $86,000 of our block grant that was set aside, and we've been saving money for this project over the years to help with the capital improvements that are needed to tie in with things, and that the mayor be authorized to enter into a loan agreement to move that money into the project. Are there any other questions?
How many homes were there?
14.
Okay.
One thing I would say is I think Ogden City, you in particular, and that department has done a really fabulous job of making these neighborhoods really accessible, wonderful, and places where people really want to live.
Thank you.
rises, the value of the neighborhood too, and it's very appreciative.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do here as well.
So the line of credit to the nonprofit organization, is that a loan to them, or how does that work?
Yes, it's loaned, and the amount that we will, because of course costs in this case are going to exceed the value, and that's often what happens in these cases, that we will be able to get the $8,000 back per unit. That's the amount that's anticipated to be returned to us. That's the amount that's going to go to the home buyer.
Okay.
Questions? Thanks.
Public input, right? Now we receive input. Okay. Now we can receive input on this project, public input.
Seeing no activity, I'll go ahead and make a motion on that we adopt proposed resolution 2012-30.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Gochner to adopt resolution 2012-30 and a second from Councilmember Wicks. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Member Gochner?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Next, we have new business. And Ms. Eller-Smith.
Thank you, council members. It's an opportunity to thank you for this opportunity to address you tonight. We actually have three related actions before you. The first is proposed ordinance 2012-55, which establishes criteria for naming city facilities. About a year ago, we had a tragic accident that we had some officers injured and one officer that was killed. And as a result of that, it started discussions about naming a city facility. And in discussions with the administration and among council staff, we thought it would be prudent that the council establish criteria for naming all city facilities. So the first ordinance that you'll be addressing tonight does establish that criteria for naming facilities. We worked with Clark Duhlman and Gary Williams from the city attorney's office, and Clark did a substantial amount of work on this, and I'd hoped that he could be here to present for you tonight, but he's very ill and asks your forgiveness for not being able to be here. He did quite a bit of research into what other jurisdictions were doing with regard to this naming of city facilities, and in fact, Salt Lake City recently took action as well to come up with some criteria. The ordinance before you does several things. First, it kind of defines city facilities, and we thought that as we went back and forth to try and find a logical kind of nexus for what is a city facility, we determined that maybe using the CIP definition was a good way to go. Council members are very familiar with that. Administration and particularly their staff are very familiar with how we define a CIP project, and so we thought that would be a good sort of way of defining what a city facility is. So it sort of adopts that same criteria for what a city facility is. It does exempt streets, trails, and monuments. Streets have their own naming ordinance process as established in ordinance. And monuments that we have, particularly those that are here on the municipal block, also have a separate ordinance and requirements. And those are separate because they relate to free speech and those kinds of constitutional issues. With regard to trails, as we did some research, we learned that there's really actually there's not a council process, there's not really an administrative process for that. There's been sort of a informal way of naming the trails, and that generally goes to the fact that the city doesn't own most of the property that the trails are on. We also exempted city-owned buildings that are leased to tenants because we didn't want tenants not to be able to put their names on the buildings, and so we exempted that. We established a unique procedure under this ordinance whereby the naming of facilities is sort of a joint effort between the administration and the council. So it requires a joint resolution by the mayor and city council, and then to make it official, an ordinance. So the other two actions that you'll be considering tonight, assuming that you adopt this particular ordinance, is a joint resolution and an ordinance. We talked about what criteria we could use to name facilities, and we came up with sort of some suggestions that are somewhat obvious, but we also wanted it to be suggestions, understanding that some issue might arise that we couldn't foresee and we didn't want it to be prohibited from naming city facilities simply because it wasn't named in the ordinance. So these are sort of suggestive: extraordinary civic contributions to the community, loss of life in the line of duty while serving as a city employee, widespread recognition as a national historical figure, significant financial contributions for acquisition or development of facility, although it specifically says that the city's not obligated to name a facility if there has been significant financial contributions. Generally speaking, naming will not be considered until at least 1 year after the death of an individual, and we just thought that that was sort of prudent to make sure that decisions are made sort of rationally and not based purely on emotion of a particular incident. Those are for naming for individuals. For organizations, it could be extraordinary civic contribution, could be cultural or historic events, even adjacent landmarks. We wanted to prohibit the names that might be offensive anyway, prohibit naming for religious or political organizations or religious leaders unless that particular leader's made a special personal civic contribution. Names with inappropriate acronyms or that might be discriminatory, derogatory, or offensive in nature. We also provided a way that the administration could enter into agreement for sponsorship, and this would be similar to what they did for the Solomon Center. Enter into an agreement, but it also requires still this joint resolution and ordinance. So that is what the essence of the ordinance for you that sets the criteria for naming city facilities. I don't know if you have any questions.
So the individual has to pass away before we consider them for a naming?
Not necessarily,
okay.
But it's just one consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion?
If there's no further discussion, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2012-55.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gochner to adopt proposed ordinance 2012-55 with a second from Councilmember Wicks. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Van Hoosier?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. This passes. And along with that is she's back.
Thank you. So with that naming, then we have two other considerations for you: a joint resolution naming, honoring Officer Jared Daniel Frankham and authorizing the naming of the Frankham Public Safety Building, and also the proposed ordinance would actually make that naming. Both the joint resolution and the proposed ordinance would become effective January 4th. And this is a date that the administration is working on as a dedication for the naming of that facility. So those are your for consideration, and I believe Chief Ashman is here as well.
Council, Mayor, Mark, I appreciate the opportunity to just speak to this for just a minute. I happen to have received a thank you note from the Frankham family today that I thought might be appropriate to maybe illustrate how supportive they are of this idea, as well as our officers. But if you'll give me just a minute, if that would be all right, I'd like to read it to you. To everyone at the Ogden City Police Department, there are no words that can convey or come close to expressing our appreciation and gratitude to all of you. You not only are the finest police department ever, but are wonderful individuals also. We want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the countless acts of kindness you have shown our family and for the love and support you continue to give. It makes us proud to know that Jared was associated with a group of such high caliber individuals with integrity. Thank you also for honoring our son in so many ways. We are and always will be eternally grateful, the Frankham family. This is a big deal to us, as you can well imagine, and we certainly want to tell you how much we thank you for your support on this for our officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I'd like to move that the proposed joint resolution of 2012-12 to honoring Officer Jared Frankham and authorize the naming of the Frankham Public Safety Building.
I second it.
Okay.
Do we need to do those? Are those separate, right?
Yes, they are separate.
Okay. So, and that's what we're doing, right? Okay. We have a motion from Councilmember Van Hoosier to adopt Joint Resolution 2012-12 and a second from Councilmember Stevens. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes.
With that, I would make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2012-56, naming the Frankham Public Safety Building.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Wicks on proposed ordinance to adopt proposed ordinance 2012-56, and a second from Councilmember Van Hoosier. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Acting Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. I'd like to thank all those that worked on that, and we look forward to reading that and being there on January 4th to take part in that. Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. In this form of government, all city personnel are the responsibility of the administration, not the council. Please discuss any concerns you may have regarding staff with the mayor, chief administrative officer, or department directors. Seeing none. Comments from administration.
I do have a couple of things real quick. I wanted to personally thank the staff of the municipal building here. A lot of you see us wearing pink ribbons in support of Emily Parker and the family and the tragedy that occurred with them. It's amazing to have something that happened so far away have such a local tie, and I've appreciated the municipal building and the people that have been involved in that. I also mentioned in the department director meeting this morning, it's a tragedy for all those families and the people that were there, but for the public safety people that had to go in and be a part of that as well. I saw a number of different pictures depicting just how crushing that was for them, and our public safety people, both fire and police, have done a great job jumping in with this family and I think helping us over this past year. Larry mentioned earlier some of the dynamic change that's happened with the administration and that's occurred over the past year. I'm going to use this. We have the next 2 weeks off due to the holidays to thank all of you and the department directors for being so committed and professional. Appreciate the patience and support you guys have all shown as this. We've gone through some of these changes and I think done some great things in some quite often extenuating circumstances. I think it's been certainly one of the most amazing years of my life, and I'd extend some warm holiday wishes to everybody and want to thank everybody for my first year in and everything that you guys have done to make it amazing and memorable. So thank you all for everything, and we'll end there.
Thank you. Comments from council staff?
I think only to mention for the record that the council will not be meeting the next 2 weeks.
And council members?
I think that's our Christmas gift.
Enjoy it.
When I was back in Connecticut visiting my daughter, I met Emily, and she really saturated, or it was a sponge to education. She enjoyed education. She enjoyed reading. She enjoyed her classmates. She enjoyed everything of life was important to her, and that was due to the parents that she has that's brought her up and that has taught her some of the things that are important in her life. And I think that we need to pay tribute to the teachers. I feel we've got the same quality of teachers here in our own area that would do the same if presented with that type of a situation, which I hope they never do. And the responders, you know, we saw that, we viewed that in our own community. We viewed it, how they responded to situations that needed to be done at a certain time, and we're very appreciative of that. And the pink ribbons, the family is very appreciative of the pink ribbons. I hope that you all enjoy the holiday season. I hope you enjoy your families, and that's what this time of the season is all about, is families.
Other council comments?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Wicks and a second from Councilmember Gochner. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Just as a reminder, there is a special redevelopment agency meeting will be held immediately following this council meeting, and also a city council work session will be held in the council workroom immediately following the city council and special redevelopment agency meetings. The purpose of the work session is to have just to receive an update on the transportation projects and to discuss council business.